Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, The Jetlag Scholar, a channel where we always talk about research, PhD life, and the academic writing part. So, if you are a student, researcher, or a PhD scholar, this channel will help you navigate the academic journey easily. So, basically, today we'll be talking about the topic that is how to write an abstract. So, everyone of you has faced the issue of how to write an abstract in some part of our lives, especially the people who are in PhD, they can relate more to it. So we'll start with the basics how to write an abstract. So before we start, I would just like to tell you that what is actually an abstract. So abstract is basically a brief summary of what has been actually done in the research paper, and usually the minimum word limit for it is 250 words. In some of the conferences and the journals, they ask for a abstract of about 4 to 500 words also. It tells us briefly that what the research is about and how the research was conducted and what will be the key findings that can be drawn from it and why this particular research paper is actually mattering. So it also helps the reader to quickly navigate and understand the study. So the purposes of the abstract is to basically summarize the entire research, help readers decide whether to read the paper, and highlight the key contributions of the paper. So now coming to the components. So these components are basically the basics of the study. So basically the abstract should highlight these five. So the first one will be the background. Okay, we'll study about these in detail in the upcoming slides. So the very first one is background. The second is research objective. The third is methodology. Then we have the key findings or the outcomes, and then the conclusion of the abstract. Okay. Now coming to the very first part, that is the background. So what is the background? It is basically a brief context of the research topic and what problem are you going to address via this paper. This will basically constitute the background. Then the second part is the research objective. Objective is the main aim or the need for the study. So it basically focuses upon the research question or the actual focus area of the paper. Then coming to third part, which is the methodology. In the methodology, we highlight the various data sources, the research methods, and the tools or techniques we are specifically using in the paper. Now, coming to the fourth part, that is the key findings or the summary. These basically highlight that what are the results of the particular study, any important discovery or a scientific invention that has been done in the particular research paper. And the last one is the conclusion or the implications. Basically, it is that what are the inferences or the meanings of the findings, and if there are any planning or policy implications in that. Now, coming to the what are the important tips for writing a good abstract. So, our ideal abstract, if it is not a preliminary submission, then you may write it after completing the whole paper. It makes it makes it easy to write it, and we need to be very clear and very concise, use simple and direct language in it. Then the common mistakes we usually do, the very first one is like we include try to include everything of the paper in the abstract. You just need to give a gist or a summary, not every detail, and it should never include the references. Then avoid giving some of the vague statements as such and exceeding the word limit. In each of the journal or the conference submission, it is basically asked that how many word limit should be there. So you need to strictly follow that. And this is the basic structure, that is the context or the background. Then there are the objectives followed by the methodology. In this we write about the data sources and the methods we use to carry out the research. Then the results or the founding uh, or the found findings, and finally the conclusion or the implication. So with this we come to the end of the video. So stay tuned for more videos and keep trying this method. And you can reach me on my Instagram page if you find any issue regarding writing your abstract.